Today, we are diving deep into the, well, kind of murky world of summer flounder fishing. We're talking about a situation where the rules for catching one single type of fish can change completely just by crossing an invisible line in the water. It's baffling.
So how is that even possible? It really does sound like a riddle, right? Picture this, you're out on your boat, you reel in a beautiful flounder. But whether you're a legal angler or a poacher depends entirely on which side of an imaginary line your boat is floating on. And this isn't just some hypothetical, it's the frustrating reality for thousands of fishermen on the East Coast. So let's unpack how we got here.
Okay, let's make this real. Take the Ambrose Channel, for instance. If you're an angler in New York waters, you have to throw back an 18-inch flounder. It's the law. But drift just 50 feet over to the New Jersey side, and another angler can legally keep that exact same fish. We're talking about the same species, caught on the same day, but governed by two totally different rule books. It's absurd.
So what's behind all this chaos? Well, it all comes down to a policy with a pretty noble-sounding name, conservation equivalency. The big idea was to give each state the flexibility to set their own fishing rules. You know, things like size limits, how many you can keep, and how long the season is.
The thinking behind it was, hey, as long as every state hits the same big-picture conservation target, they should be able to tweak the rules for their local anglers. On paper, it sounded like a win-win, right? Flexible for fishermen, safe for the fish. But as we're about to see, the reality has been anything but equivalent.
What started as this idea of flexibility quickly spiraled into a decade-long pattern of unfairness. Instead of creating a level playing field, this policy has systematically, year after year, created a system of winners and losers.
You know, if we go back to 2014, things were simple. They were fair. Everyone up and down the coast played by the same rule, an 18-inch minimum. But then, bam, 2015 hits, conservation equivalency gets implemented, and the rules just splinter. By 2018, the difference becomes extreme. We're talking a 16-inch minimum in some parts of New Jersey versus 19 inches in New York. And that unfair gap, it's been there ever since.
And the data, well, it's pretty stark. Just look at the advantage New Jersey has had. Year after year, their anglers have been allowed to keep flounder that are 1, 2, even 3 inches smaller than what's legal in New York and Connecticut. This isn't some one-off fluke. It's a consistent pattern that has been going on for a decade. So let's just boil all that data down to one single powerful number, 9 out of 10. For 9 of the last 10 years, if you're a flounder fisherman, the rules have been better in New Jersey. Period. Think about that. The system hasn't just been a little unequal. It has consistently and predictably favored one state over the others.
So you might be thinking, why does a 1-inch difference in a fish really matter? Well, these numbers aren't just stats on a chart. They have huge, real-world consequences for people, for small businesses, and for entire coastal towns.
For the angler just trying to enjoy a day on the water, that 1-inch difference is everything. It can mean a 15 to 25% reduction in the number of legal fish they can actually bring home. That's literally the difference between a great day and going home totally frustrated and empty-handed.
And that frustration, it creates this massive economic ripple effect. I mean, think about it. Why would you book a charter boat in New York if you know the rules are way better just across the border in New Jersey? All of a sudden, tourism dollars start to shift. Tackle shops and marinas in New York and Connecticut start to suffer. And the poor enforcement officers, they call it a nightmare trying to manage this confusing mess of rules for the exact same fish.
So how could a system that was actually designed for equality end up being so incredibly unequal? Well, the answer is pretty shocking. The entire system is built on a foundation of shaky, flawed, and unreliable data.
To get this, we need to talk about something called percent standard error, or PSE. The easiest way to think about it is like the focus on a camera. A low PSE score means your picture is sharp, it's clear, you can trust what you see. But a high PSE, that means your data is blurry, it's fuzzy, and it's full of errors. It's definitely not something you want to build important rules on.
And here's the core of the problem. The reliability of this fishing data just tanks the more you zoom in. When you look at the whole coast, the data's okay. The picture is pretty sharp. But conservation equivalency depends on state-by-state data, and that's where the error rate more than doubles. The picture gets blurry. And when you try to get super local for those special fishing zones, the error rate explodes to over 100%. The data is basically worthless.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. Even the regulators know there's a problem. The committee that manages all this, the ASMFC, They themselves noted in a recent meeting that the data has high PSEs, in other words, high error rates. They know the foundation they're building on is shaky.
All of this leads to the biggest, most mind-boggling mismatch of all. The rules that give New Jersey the best deal are based on where the fish were way back in 1998. But here's the thing. Modern science shows that the fish have moved. The huge majority of the flounder population has shifted north into New York and Connecticut waters. So you end up with this totally backward situation where the states with the most fish are stuck with the toughest rules.
So, okay, the system is clearly broken. It's unfair, it's built on bad data, and it's actively hurting local economies. But it doesn't have to be this way. The good news is, experts have laid out a pretty clear path to actually fix this thing.
It comes down to 3 immediate actions. Step 1. Scrap this broken system. Let's go back to simple, uniform rules for everybody for 3 years to create a stable, fair baseline. Step 2. Use that time to fix the data. Let's actually improve the surveys so we can trust the numbers we're using. And step 3, and this is the big one, update the allocations. Base the rules on where the fish are, today, not where they were more than 25 years ago.
You know, in the end, this quote from the Marine Fish Conservation Network really says it all. Conservation equivalency. It sounded like a good idea. It was a nice theory. But a decade of real-world experience has proven it's a failure, one that's created far more division than fairness.
And that leaves us with one final big question. The problems are crystal clear, and the solutions are right there on the table. So when a system is this fundamentally broken and this obviously unfair, who has the power, and more importantly, the will, to actually step up and fix it?